Welcome to this explainer. Look, today we are cutting straight through the corporate AI BS. No humanoid robots, no glowing neon brains, and absolutely zero AI theater. Instead, we're going to look at a geeky, rigorous, and highly governed culmination of deep research. This is an overview of SharePlane Next, a context as code operating model. Ultimately, this is the result of a massive amount of experimentation. It's a true culmination of deep work to solve a very specific problem: how to actually keep complex AI-assisted work strictly organized. To put it bluntly, it is the exact pattern I use to keep my shit organized, more or less. So let's deconstruct the black box.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our methodical plan to deconstruct the chaotic, disposable nature of modern AI tools into a governed, transparent pattern. We're going to cover 1. Escaping AI black boxes. 2. The SharePlane evolution. 3. Deconstructing the authority stack. 4. Bounding the agents. 5. Deterministic lifecycle gates. And 6. A pattern, not a tool.
Section 1. Escaping AI black boxes. We're starting right here because, frankly, we are completely fed up with AI theater and black boxes. It's time to shift the focus to a disciplined, no-nonsense operating model. Now, you might be wondering, what does that actually look like? Well, let's contrast the fleeting, opaque nature of standard AI chat sessions with the durable, reproducible, and transparent architecture of the SharePlane pattern. The current default is trapped in disposable chats, opaque retrieval layers, and completely disconnected documents. Sure, it might look polished, but the exact second you close your window, the reasoning, the provenance, and the approval state completely vanish. Poof, gone. Instead, we are looking at a system built on receipt-backed artifacts, exact head publication, and explicit authority. This is about taking rough ideas and turning them into durable artifacts that actually survive. Which brings us to a foundational truth. A pile of documents is not an operating model. We hear so much about RAG, retrieval augmented generation. But while retrieval might help an agent find relevant material, it utterly fails to decide which source actually governs, what action is permitted, or who approves the final output. And you can literally see this disciplined philosophy reflected in the precise, calm, deep ink and lime signal visual aesthetic of the architecture itself. This is absolute proof that we prioritize high-signal, architectural rigor over decorative filler. No cyberpunk UI, no glowing brains, just clean editorial architecture. Section 2. The SharePlane evolution. We really need to frame SharePlane Next not just as a tool, but as the culmination of deep experimentation and a clean room bootstrap for keeping finished work radically organized. So, the absolutely crucial point here is understanding this core definition: context as code. Because while RAG helps an agent find things, context as code actually provides the governance. It's how the system knows exactly what those retrieved documents mean. It establishes strict boundaries on what an agent is permitted to do and dictates exactly where human judgment remains mandatory. Let's do a ruthless teardown of what we aren't, proving that we reject speculative infrastructure and bloated content farms. SharePlane is not a RAG app. It's not an inference runtime, not a vector or graph database, not a generic CMS, and not some bloated SaaS dashboard. And most importantly, it is absolutely not a substitute for human evaluation and approval. No way. Section 3. Deconstructing the authority stack. Let's transition into the geeky meat of the operating model and explain how we physically separate canonical authority from generated projections. Now, what's really interesting about this stack is how unapologetically rigid these 5 layers are. Human judgment sits unapologetically at the absolute top: intent, thesis, and approval. Beneath that is the locked versioned authority. Only at layer 3 do we hit the deterministic compiler, and layer 4 holds the public projections. Generated output is incredibly useful, for sure, but as this makes clear, it is not equal authority. And because generated output is not equal authority, we don't silently reconcile errors. If there's a conflict between the canonical truth and what an AI projected, we demand a deterministic stop and escalate. We halt generation entirely, and the conflict goes straight up to human judgment. We don't guess. Part 4. Bounding the agents. Here we're introducing the concept that AI is simply a tool with strict boundaries, not some autonomous colleague making governance decisions for you. And this brilliantly illustrates that real leverage comes from bounded authority, not vague autonomy. Notice the explicit division of labor here. The human, Tony, owns the thesis and merge authorization, while the agents perform highly scoped, strictly bounded work.
To break that down further, ChatGPT acts as the interpreter and architect. Codex acts as the executor, making scoped mechanical file edits. Then, validators verify the rules. But Tony retains absolute judgment the entire time. Agents only get to do those mechanical file edits after a creative lock has been firmly established by human judgment.
Section 5, Deterministic Lifecycle Gates. We have to explain that publication is a rigorous lifecycle, not a single sloppy button click that collapses draft, review, and deployment into one messy state. Let's see how this builds into an exact progression of 10 explicit gates. Work starts at intent, moves to creative lock, and marches deterministically all the way to a receipt-backed protected merge. Each state is completely explicit. Approval is never, ever inferred. And this discipline extends to the technology stack itself through our static first runtime philosophy, what we call the complexity admission rule. We literally reject permanent application runtimes and databases unless a concrete requirement earns it. New infrastructure must solve a demonstrated problem, disclose its costs, and preserve a reversible boundary. Section 6. A pattern, not a tool. Let's zoom out to explain that while SharePlane relies on Python standard libraries and static files, the actual product is the discipline itself. See, this is a governed operating discipline, adaptable to any tool stack. I want to remind you that this pattern can be adapted to keep your own work strictly organized, regardless of the specific software you happen to deploy. It turns rough ideas into durable artifacts intelligible to both humans and machines. I'm going to hit this anchor phrase hard because it summarizes the entire philosophy perfectly. Probability explores, judgment decides, determinism preserves. We are keeping human agency in control while using AI for exploration and static files for preservation. It's that simple.
So what does this all mean for you? I'll leave you with a final provocative challenge as you look at your own workflow. What is the actual legacy and provenance of the work you are producing every single day? Are you building disposable chats that vanish into the void, or are you building durable, governed artifacts? The choice of architecture is yours. Thanks for joining me on this explainer.